Well, it's busy now. We got football and we got the hockey season starting. We also got the World Series playdowns going on. Here's Lance to bring us up to date.
Who gets stuck with all the highlights, in other words. Thanks, Doug. Good evening, everyone. Veteran left-hander Tommy John must have been granted 3 wishes by the good fairy somewhere because he got his first 2 and he's off on the right foot for number 3. John wanted out of New York. He got out this season. He wanted to be part of a pennant winner again. He got that too. And tonight he pitched the distance with a 7-hitter in winning Game 1 of the American League Championship for the California Angels.
In the first inning, Mike Caldwell got out of a jam after a misplay double play ball and a wild pitch gave the Angels 2 on, none out. Don Baylor drove in the first run of the game with 1 out. A fly ball to center scored Brian Downing, but that was all. Angels led 1-0. Top of the second, the Brewers got that back. Ted Simmons single before Gorman Thomas got all of Tommy John's breaking ball and rode it deep. The Brewers added 1 in the top of the third. Cecil Cooper hit into a possible double play, but beat the throw and scored Paul Molitor 3-1. The Angels erupted for 4 in the same inning. Brian Downing walked, Doug DeCinces singled, and Bobby Gritt scored Downing from second. With none out, Don Baylor nailed a shot off the 386 marker at right center. His triple scored DeCinces and Gritt 4-3. The California Angels led. They added 1 more with Reggie Jackson's sacrifice grounder to second. Baylor came in 5-3 after 3. 2 more for the Angels in the fourth with Bob Boone and DeCinces on base. Don Baylor knocking his 5th RBI of the game, 7-3 after 4. In the 5th, the last run of the ball game, Fred Lynn sent this one to right field off reliever Jim Slayton, 8-3 California. Tommy John went all the way as Jim Gantner flied out. The Angels take a 1-0 lead in the best of 5, 8-3 final. Greg Musselman, ITV Sports.
So, in the American Championship, the series stays in Anaheim for Game 2 there tomorrow night. Pete Vuckovich for the Brewers, Bruce Kison for the Angels. The first game of the National Series in St. Louis tomorrow night. Phil Niekro on the mound for Atlanta, while Joaquin Andujar will start for the Cards.
Bruce Kison is a 21-year-old from Pasco, Washington, who woke up this morning and found out that he owned the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Here he is in slow motion. Sidearm delivery. Reminds you a bit of Ewell Blackwell. Gives you a lot of elbows, fingernails, kneecaps, and a good fastball. He broke some Baltimore hearts last night with that good fastball that you just saw, and it's lucky that that's all he broke, because he got Davy Johnson once. Frank Robinson. And Andy Etchebarren is going to find a little tough to sit down this morning. Even on the bases, young Kison was very aggressive. He gets Dave Johnson again. Watch what he does. He gets the wrong cap.
Game 2 of the 1982 American League Championship Series from Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, California. The Milwaukee Brewers and the California Angels. The shadows of autumn are as pronounced in Southern California as any other place, and there's something special about this time of the year, of course, and that is the hunt for championships in baseball. The American League Championship Series, game number 2, Anaheim Stadium. The crowd coming to their feet right now for the national anthem, which will be sung by Mr. John Gary.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous night o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
John Gary, who has been about the whole nation for so many years, entertaining so many people, motion pictures and on the stage. So we're about ready to go, and we'll be back after this word and a message in behalf of Major League Baseball.
Baseball fever. Catch it. It lasts forever.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
The ceremonial first pitch before game number 2 will be delivered by Jim Fregosi, who came to the Angels as a player. One of Gene Autry's all-time favorites. He was a great shortstop, went on to become the manager of the Angels. Now he is the former manager. But he gets a rousing ovation from this big crowd. And he delivers it to Bob Boone. And we're ready to play baseball. I'm Keith Jackson along with Earl Weaver and Jim Palmer. The starting lineup, as they come to the plate: Paul Molitor, third baseman, hitting .302. Robin Yount batting second at .331. Cecil Cooper hitting in the number 3 spot at .313, followed by Ted Simmons at .269. He'll go from the left side tonight. Ben Ogilvy, .244 batting average. Gorman Thomas, .245, but duck. Roy Howell will be the designated hitter tonight, left-hander with a .260 average, .254 for the right fielder Charlie Moore, 8th man in the order, and Jim Gentner hitting 9th, batting .295. And the California Angels now taking the field, and we'll set them up for you defensively just as soon as they have assumed their positions. Rod Carew will be the first baseman. Bobby Grich will be over at second base. Had a pretty good night last night. The shortstop is Tim Foley. Very dependable fellow. Doug DeCinces told me that the groin muscle pull is feeling much better today. In the outer perimeter for California's defense, you've got Brian Downing in left field, played all year without an error out there. In center field, Fred Lynn, who's feeling better and better, the cracked ribs healing. And over in right field, one of the stronger arms still in Major League Baseball, Reggie Jackson, moving behind the plate. It's Booney, Bob Boone, back there. And he has been most effective as a defensive catcher for California and handler of pitches. And on the mound, a fellow named Bruce Kison, that Earl Weaver and Jim Palmer remember from 1971, when as a 21-year-old rookie, he stood you on your ear in game number 4.
He certainly did. He hit 3 of our players in that game. I had done a little platooning at that time also, and had mostly right-handed hitters in the lineup, and we didn't get to them. About tonight's game, one thing that Milwaukee didn't do last night was get their leadoff hitter on base in each inning very often. In fact, they only did it one time. And what they want to do is get some people on base and then bring up one of those big fellas that can hit the ball out the park.
Bruce Kison is also a pitcher whose career seemed in jeopardy. In fact, seemed almost over at one time, Jim Palmer, but he fought back through it and has become effective again.
Well, he certainly has. I talked to Bob Boone. He said he's pitched great down the stretch. He has one of these kind of records that's unusual, 27-7 in September and October. That means he can pitch in some clutch ball games. I have a theory on it, though. Not any year has he pitched over 200 innings. This year he had about 140 innings. He got to start in the middle of September. He's been 3-0 in September and pitched some big ball games for him. He throws the usual pitches. He has a fastball that sinks and a slider. When he had the ulnar nerve problem, which is what happened to his elbow, and also an injury to the medial nerve, those are the injuries that affect the 2 little fingers. The ulnar nerve affects the 2 little fingers of your right hand, and the medial nerve goes to your middle finger, which kind of made it very hard for him to throw his breaking ball. So he's come back. Took him about 13 months, but he's pitched very well for him down the stretch.
The umpires behind the plate: Bill Kunkel, first base; Rich Garcia, second base; Steve Palermo, third; Don Denkinger; Al Clark down left field line, and Larry Barnett down the right field line. And Bill Kunkel wears the the cushion, the balloon, the protector, the air protector. Well, now, you will not get the low strike out of Bill Kunkel that you got out of Larry Barnett. Will get out of others. Now we're ready to go as Paul Molitor steps in for the Milwaukee Brewers. Losers last night by a score of 8-3. The first pitch from Kison is on the corner for a strike. Rod Hansen coaching at first base for Milwaukee, and Harry Warner coaching at third. To the shortstop, Foley. And he throws him out.
Pretty good play on a short hop. Foley is a steady ball player, about as steady as they come.
He's really been a valuable personality for California this year, what with Burleson going down with a rotator cuff tear early in the season. Robin Yount steps in now. They were able to contain him pretty well last night. Over the pitcher's head, toward the middle, flagged by Grich, no play, base hit, Yount.
Bobby Grich still has that good range that he came into the league with. He was wondering himself after he had his back problems if that would come back, but in my opinion, it came all the way back.
Cecil Cooper to the plate now. 32 home runs for Cecil Cooper. A rather unorthodox batting stance, but as I noted last night, he generates tremendous bat velocity.
Well, he does, Keith, especially on the ball down in the strike zone, whether it's a breaking ball or a fastball. So most pitchers try to go up with him, and you'll see in the center field shot where they're going to try to pitch him. There was a low fastball, and normally a pitch that I would think he would have swung at.
Just missed the inside corner.
I feel Cecil's moving in Tony Oliva class. He doesn't use as much of the field as Tony did, but he hits the ball all over. And with those averages he's had the past few years, you almost have to put him in that category.
Yount bounces off first. Cooper lays it down, and he fouled it away. Yount bouncing off first again, not a big lead. And again, Coop up the bat. Ball bounces away. Your count now, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Now Doug can move back at third base.
Swings and misses. Snap throw to first. Yount is back. 2 down as Cooper strikes out. Anna Marie Kison. And here's the snap throw coming to first base and the tag by Carew. You see, Yount had to scratch to get back in there.
Well, that's because I think one of the toughest plays in baseball is when a hitter swings through the ball. And Bob Boone, as we said last night, threw out over 50% of the runners this year. Number 1, he has a good arm. Number 2, and probably even more importantly, he has a very quick release.
Ed Simmons comes to the plate. He's hitting cleanup tonight, going from the left side against the right-handed pitcher. Boone out in front of the plate, flips it on down to Carew. And the Milwaukee Brewers strand Robin Yount here in the top of the first inning. Ed Simmons thrown out at first base. Milwaukee fails to score. California coming up in the first inning. Leading off for the California Angels, Brian Downing, a .281 batting average on the '82 season. Moved up in the number 2 spot tonight. Rod Carew, .319. Another left-hander, Reggie Jackson, goes up to the number 3 spot. Fred Lynn, another left-hander, hitting in the cleanup. The big DH, Don Baylor, now drops back to 5 in the batting order, followed by Doug DeCinces at number 6 spot. Bobby Grich is hitting in the number 7 position. The shortstop, Tim Foley, is batting 8, and the catcher, Bob Boone, stays in the number 9 position. Foley and Boone have been in that 8-9 spot all season. Cecil Cooper at first base for the Milwaukee Brewers, and Jim Gantner feeling better as the days go by at second base. The shortstop is Robin Yount, and the third baseman, Paul Molitor. Out in left field, it's Ben Ogilvie, who continues to make big defensive plays. Gorman Thomas is the center fielder for Milwaukee, and over in right field, Charlie Moore. Back of the plate doing the catching, Ted Simmons, and out on the mound, it is Pete Vuckovich, and Vuckie was 3-0 with a .235 earned run average against California this past season.
Well, he pitched very well, but I think the big question, both in Pete's mind and on the mind of the Milwaukee Brewers, is the fact that he's had some shoulder problems. He's gotten 2 cortisone shots in the last 2 weeks, and his last two starts, both against the Baltimore Orioles, did not pitch very well, at least not the way he pitched all year. But he has had great success against his ball club, and an unusual thing about Vuckovich is, contrary to most pitchers that are successful, he pitches behind in the count. He's not afraid to go 3-2. He walks a high amount of batters for somebody as successful as him, but he has good stuff. But the last few games, he just has not had command of his pitches.
He can pitch, however, not feeling well. Remember, a year ago in the many series against the Yankees, his temperature was just under 104 degrees in Game 4 of that playoff, and he went out there and pitched a heck of a ball.
Well, that's a good point. And unfortunately, it's a lot easier to pitch with a high temperature than it is with a sore shoulder. So I think the reason I say that is because sometimes a sore shoulder can affect your control, and Vuckovich is the type of guy that's got to make the good 3-1, 3-2 pitches because that's the kind of counts he pitches in.
Steps in against Brian Downing. Vuckie standing on the mound, and he's a hulk of a man out there. Those whiskers make him look a little fierce, and he comes with a fastball and gets a called strike.
So far this year, Downing hasn't hit Vuckovich well.
Popped him up. Norman Thomas in short center field, and you've got one down. Rod Carew will come to the plate now. Carew still having trouble with sore hands. He has, I think, played virtually the whole season with sore hands from one reason or the other.
Well, yeah, you heard his hand on Sunday. Mike Richard of the Texas Ranger went back to first on a tag and kind of jammed his wrist. I was talking to Sal Bando down by the batting cage, and we figured we were going to have an earthquake when anybody like Rod Carew strikes out 3 times in a row.
That's right.
Well, regardless of the sore hand, I think Rodney likes to hit second in front of those big boys, and he's had some success against Vuckovich this year. That might be a tip-off right there, though, that the hand is bothering.
Well, he did that quite a bit last night. He showed bunt 5 times in last night's ball game. 2 strikes on him.
He's been 5 for 11 off of Vuckovich this year.
The pitch is high. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Inside corner. Well, can you believe it?
Well, I think that he just got fooled there. Looked like a changeup or an off-speed pitch that just kind of drifted in, and you can see last night this ball would have been a ball, but the high strike zone with Bill Kunkel, the umpire, with the bubble, you get a tendency to get a few more high pitches.
It also
4 times in 2 games, Rod Carew is struck out.
Yes, it is. That's terrible. But it also could mean that he don't want to go after that inside pitch because of the wrist.
Reggie Jackson stands up, and a slider just misses for ball 1 to him. And Reggie, with 1 more RBI, can become the all-time League Championship Series leader. Right now, he is tied with Greg Nettles at 17, and this is his 10th League Championship Series. And a downtown swing. 2 balls and a strike.
Well, home run hitters don't get cheated 2-0, and Reggie's no exception. He's trying to hit that ball up in the right field bleachers or over the center field wall, which he has the capabilities of doing. It's not exactly the best way to pitch to Reggie behind in the count.
Bouncer, first baseman, Cooper does it himself, and so Pete Vuckovich gets the California Angels in order in the bottom of the first. So after 1 in Anaheim, there is no score in Game 2. Dan Ogilvy will lead off for Milwaukee. Before the ball game tonight, I visited with him.
Benji, you're a man with a quick bat. The kind of quickness that I kind of expect might hurt a pitcher like a Bruce Kison.
Well, I'm a fastball hitter, and to look for fastball, you need to have a quick bat. So I base my theory on hitting on looking for fastball and making the proper adjustment to whatever pitch that is other than a fastball.
So he looks fastball and adjusts thereafter, and he takes a breaking slider on the outside corner for a strike.
And he's a pretty good breaking ball hitter, believe me.
See, I always felt he did the other way, pitching against him. I threw him a hanging curveball the other night in Minnesota, in Milwaukee, and he doubled down the line, threw him a fastball away, and he hit a ground ball right over the third base bag going the opposite way. So I asked him. He used to stand right on top of the plate, and now he's moved away from the plate because I think they want him to have a better average.
Looked pretty feeble on that one as Kison fooled him, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Well, that was just a changeup away, and he may have been looking for the fastball then. Kison looks like he has good command of all his pitches so far. In the first inning, he used his slider, his curveball, and his changeup to get outs.
A 1-2 pitch to Ogilvie. On the outside corner looking. Another look.
Just a changeup away, and Ogilvie is fooled. The ball looked a little bit outside, but it was close enough for Bill Kunkel to call.
1 down. Gorman Thomas now comes to the plate with the DH Roy Howell moving to the on-deck circle. Gorman with a 2-run home run last night for Milwaukee's first run. Hit it in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Puts it down, and when DeSensei was playing well back of the bag at 3rd, if he'd been able to get it down, it's base hit easily.
It looks like they're trying to move him in. Greg Nettles is another third baseman that plays so deep that if you can get the ball down, you can get some people on base. Doug hasn't moved up much yet as of now.
He comes from 3rd base with it and whistles it in. And edge Kison, 2 strikes. See how Doug...
He's going to creep in as the pitch comes up.
Comes creeping in. It just misses. Bob Boone appeals. First base umpire Rich Garcia said no swing, and the count is 1-2.
And here you see the sidearm pitch. One of the things that makes Bruce Kison so tough is that he throws overhand, he throws 3/4, and there you see a sidearm pitch that just missed the outside corner.
Check him out.
Now it looks to me like the left-handers are going to have to do the damage.
Roy Howell comes up now from the left side. The Atlanta Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals in the opening game of the National League Championship Series in St. Louis rained out this afternoon after 4.5 innings with Atlanta leading 1-0 behind Phil Niekro. First pitch from Kison again took something off the pitch and got it in. And there's Carla Howell watching her husband at the plate. They play that game from the top tomorrow. There's a high pop foul going back near the dugout. Bob Boone goes as far as the real estate will allow him and runs out of room. That's a swing. He's gone. So Bruce Kison is impressive in the top of the 2nd inning. Strikes out the side. He now has 4 after 1.5, no score. Now look around the Big A, Anaheim Stadium, as the California Angels will send to the plate the middle of the order. Fred Lynn, Don Baylor, and Doug DeSensei. Lynn last night, a rainbow into right center field, solo home run.
Well, it was on a hanging curveball, and I was talking to Freddie. What's unusual, he won 170 times up this year without hitting a home run. And the reason he said that he stopped hitting the ball with power and pulling the ball was that he was batting 2nd. Gene Mauch put him early in spring training. He started hitting the ball the other way. But it seems interesting, Earl, that normally in a lineup, when we talk about lineups in pregame, there you see a fastball away. You want a guy, especially if he's left-handed, batting 2nd that can pull the ball.
You definitely do take advantage of the hole if the leadoff man gets on.
That's a little pop fly, and everybody coming, and nobody can get it. But it drops in for a base hit. Now coming up, Don Baylor, who knocked in 5 runs last night. And before the game today, I talked to the big guy.
I noticed over the years that you seem to look for that first pitch. And many times you're going to take a whack at that first pitch.
Well, I'm looking for a strike. Sometimes I don't get it, but if I'm looking for a certain pitch, I will swing at the first pitch. And sometimes I'm overly aggressive, and if I feel like that particular day I'm going to swing at the first pitch, I don't think guys can get ahead of me. I can just go ahead and do my job, but I think I'm better when I'm selective and just looking for a 2-0 or a 3-1 count. I swing that a lot better.
The man who led the American League this past season in game-winning hits, Don Baylor. First pitch to him was inside. Jumps on the second pitch and hits a high fly ball to short center field, where Gorman Thomas makes the catch. Fred Lynn hangs on at first base with one down.
I think Vuckovich feels like he's got his good stuff because he went right in on Baylor's fist. If you're not throwing good, that's dangerous. It's the right place to go if you have a good fastball, but a lot of pitchers, if they feel they don't have that good fastball, are not going to go in there.
Now Doug DeCinces with one away and Lynn on first base. You saw the graphic as Doug DeCinces came to the plate. He has had a miserable existence against Pete Vuckovich. Got it past Robin Yount and going to go through to the wall. Fred Lynn around second to third, and Preston Gomez holds him there. A double for DeCinces.
And I was going to say so much for the 1 for 9. It's now 2 for 10 this year, just like Palmer had predicted.
Well, he made a bad pitch. He got a fastball in the middle of the plate. Maybe not be a bad pitch to some hitters, but when DeCinces is hot, you'll see it. Right down the middle. He hits it so hard that Ogilvie, who's playing in left center, can't even get to it.
I think Ogilvie did a good job of cutting it off because he did get it before it got to the warning track, and if it would have gotten by him, it would have been a run and a possible man on third.
Now Bobby Grich with one out. A chance to deliver the first run of the ball game with Freddie Lynn at third and Doug DeCinces at second. Fastball is low and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Mookie throws what some people describe as a dry hitter. You see his wife, Anna Marie. That means he's holding the ball between the seams.
Well, yeah, that's the Art Fowler pitch. Is Billy Martin's pitching coach for years. You just hold it between the seams, and there's a hit batsman. Yes, it tries to go in on Bobby Grich, and it hits him right in the left thigh.
The point that Earl made last night about Grich, he will take it.
He will. He'll take one for the team, and he didn't even rub it.
Takes it right on the flank. Now you've got the bases loaded, which sets up the possibility of a double play with Tim Foley coming to the plate.
We talked about him being a clutch hitter last night, and he certainly has been throughout his career.
They give Foley left center field. Left field, base hit. Here comes Lynn. DeCinces holds up at third on a good throw by Ogilvie. Then hustling over, got to it in a hurry and whipped it back in. And remember, DeCinces is playing with a sore leg. But Jeanette Foley enjoys it immensely. The Angels get the lead.
This ball was hit so hard. He got it right in the middle of the fat part of the bat, and it was hit too hard for Doug to score. I don't think that he would have had a chance, even if he would have been in perfect physical condition. The ball was getting to Ogilvie's glove just when Doug was reaching third base.
Now Bob Boone, the number 9 man in the order. In the inning, Lynn singles. Baylor hit a fly ball to center. DeCinces is double. Grich hit for the pitch, and Foley now with a single. It's a rough inning for Vuckovich. The pitch to Boone, strike.
Bob Boone, who Gene Mauch labeled as one of his more intelligent hitters, will be going to right field, because if you do that, as Roger Angel said about Bill Rickney, who we were talking about last night, you stay out of the double play, and this is what you try to do here. If he pulls the ball to shortstop with boot speed, it's almost going to be a double play every time.
DeCinces to the plate. Cooper over to Gentner, and they get the play at first base, and the run is home, and the Angels lead 2-0.
It was executed perfectly. The runner left at exactly the right time. Doug DeCinces took off from third base, and Boone got the ball. In a situation like that, you don't try to get it down either line. You just try to get it in fair territory, and that's exactly what Bob Boone done. It was a well-executed squeeze.
Well, this is the way you stay out of a double play. And he must, obviously, Mauch has confidence in Boone. Lays down really a perfect bunt as it is. Cooper has to make a good play, even get the out at first.
And Gantner had to really hustle to get over to first base. They didn't give it away at all.
With It's 2 down now. Here is Brian Downing, the top of the order for California, and Vuckovich is in with a strike. Pops him up, and they will have a play, it looks like, as Simmons comes to the backstop and makes the catch for out number 3. But the California Angels jump on Pete Vuckovich for a 2-0 lead after 2 innings of play. Well, it looks like most everybody has arrived finally at the Big A. It looks pretty well full. Atlanta. They're going to have some trouble with that weather. I hope that storm that hit St. Louis today doesn't go marching up toward Milwaukee, and we run into it tomorrow, because tomorrow is travel day for these 2 teams, with the American League Series resuming in Milwaukee on Friday afternoon. We'll be on at 3 Eastern Time Friday afternoon with game number 3. Charlie Moore, Jim Gantner, and Paul Molitor. And Moore hits it to the right side, going to drop in front of Reggie Jackson for a single. So Charlie Moore continues to be pesky.
In putting on a squeeze in the second inning, Gene Mott could be thinking, and I'm not sure, that the way Bruce Kison is throwing, that 2 runs might be enough in this game. So we'll just wait and see what happens.
Jimmy Gantner, the second baseman for the Brewers, and number 9 man in the order, with Molitor to the on-deck circle. And Moore off first base. Ball 1.
I think we might see a hit and run here. It's the one thing the Brewers do when they are in the ball game. Even if they're only trailing by 2 runs, they try to move the runners along, stay out of the double play. So you can get that guy to second base with Molitor, Yount, and Cooper, and the rest of the people coming up.
Carew decides not to risk the throw at second base, turns and steps on the bag at first. And so the out is recorded on Gantner, but Moore stands at second.
They did have the right part of the lineup up to hit and run. 8, 9, Moore, Gantner, and then Molitor and Yount coming up. They can try a lot of things. But the front part of this lineup, with all the hits that Jim Palmer talked about, Molitor, Yount, and Cooper get, when they get a man on second base, though, they're going to try to drive him in.
Ball rolled out to the shortstop his first time up. Now here in the top of the 3rd inning. Kison delivers, and Molitor swings and misses. Her name is Euchre. Judy Euchre. And her husband, not nearly as pretty. Bob Euchre, who is one of the voices of the Milwaukee Brewers and who works with us on Monday Night Baseball here on ABC, munching on a hot dog, as a matter of fact, not even working as he sits next door. Those of you in Milwaukee who might be wondering what Bob is doing, he's eating, that's what.
And that's the second one.
At least.
To second base with it, nothing doing there as Moore is back. A 2-strike count now on Molitor.
That was a time pickoff play. That came from the catcher. Pitcher looks in at the catcher. The catcher gives the pitcher the sign when to turn. Bobby Gritcher used the daylight play too, and that means there'll be no sign given. If he thinks he's got enough to get him, then he'll break.
Sharply struck. Great play by Foley. Goes to third, and nothing doing as Moore was hustling on down, but it was a heads-up play by Foley, and actually the only play that Timmy had. He had no chance at first base.
None whatsoever, and that's a veteran out there. Foley extended when he caught the ball down on his belly. Without thinking, he's going to come up and throw to third base.
He saved a run with that play.
Yep.
Well, that's a heads-up play. A lot of shortstops won't dive for the ball, or a lot of infielders won't. But if you can knock the ball down, they're still in a situation here with 1 out that double play ball gets them out of the inning without any damage.
Robin Yount at the plate. Infield single first time. Rich cut it off up the middle, but couldn't make a throw on him, and Kison gets a swinging strike. High pop-up. Left fielder Downing, shortstop coming. Downing calls him off, makes the catch, and runs the ball in. And the runners have to hold.
Foley's play is becoming more important now.
Now you've got 2 out with runners on the corner, and the batter is Cecil Cooper.
Yount got the ball to the outfield grass, but it wasn't far enough to let the runner score from third.
I guess we should note here, I think if you're going to be a successful pitcher, have a good year or have a good game, the 2-out situation with runners in scoring position, when you can get the batter out and save that run, it makes a big difference when you get in the late innings.
Sharply struck, Carew gloves it, steps on the bag at first, and Kison dodges the bullet. The Brewers are turned away in the top of the 3rd inning. And after 2.5 at the Big A in Anaheim, game number 2 of the American League Championship Series, the California Angels are leading the Milwaukee Brewers.
Well, we go to the top of the 7th in a 1-run game, 2-1. Angels lead it, and to tell you all about it, here's Frank Messer.
And Reggie hits one out. First pitch, upper deck, right field. First pitch from Guidry, and Jackson creams it into the upper deck in right field for his first extra base hit of 1982. You think Yankee fans aren't giving Jackson some kind of welcome, a standing ovation? Really an unbelievable reaction to Reggie Jackson creaming a Guidry pitch. You think Reggie's still out of Yankee uniform. He comes out and he takes a bow.
Back to the Dodgers. Among those in the stands watching the ball game tonight, youngster who's had himself a great year. Woo, did he ever?
Jerry Kapstein, the great agent to his left.
I'm going to make a comment about that later on, because Kapstein has been involved in the shaping of both these teams to some degree, in that his people that he represents are very much involved in these 2 teams. A fly ball lifted out to left field, and Ogilvy, moving easily, makes the catch to retire Rod Carew. So Rodney is 0 for 2, and here comes Reggie Jackson.
That pitch was away from Carew, and he had a pretty good swing at it, and it carried a pretty good distance. Looks like he might be having trouble with the pitch in as far as his wrist is concerned, and able to go out and swing pretty good at the pitch away from him.
Jackson out to the first baseman unassisted, his first time up tonight. He hits that one high and deep, way back. It's gone.
Tell if the pitch was up enough or not, or if
it was up about 440 feet to center field. That's where it was. Just you're going to see a high fastball. I'm not sure how good Vuckovich is pitching. Not too many guys can hit a ball this fast. You can see Gorman Thomas is looking as the ball goes over the camera.
That's a good 450 feet. All of it. Watch it. He knew he had it. Go run now. You got to run the bases, Reg. That is an American League Championship Series record. 18 runs batted in.
I don't care how many times that it's been done or how many times you've done it yourself. It has to be a thrill.
Yes, sir. Red Lynn steps up now. That is a league championship record, but postseason he's now in a tie with Mickey Mantle. The other people on that list did not have league championship series in which to participate. So it's 2 balls and no strikes now, as Vuckovich has run into trouble. And the pitch is down low. It'll be interesting to see now if Harvey Keene has to make a move pretty soon, and I don't think can afford to let himself get 5, 6, 7 runs down here.
No way he can do that.
He's going to have to start thinking about somebody, Moose Haas or Bob McClure. Ball hits the bag. And Lynn is aboard.
That's when things are going your way.
Cecil Cooper was back down the line ready to make the play on the bouncing ball, but it kissed the corner of the bag and kicked away.
It was a 3-0 count, which is amazing that Mock let him swing away. But as Earl said, a lot of times things don't go your way. Or if you're playing for the Angels, sometimes they do.
Scoot's got to feel like he had his pocket picked on that one.
Yeah, when you get a hitter like Freddie Lynn to hit the ball like that, you certainly want an out.
3-0, California. And Don Baylor takes a strike. Sharply struck the Yount. Over to second, back to first, double play. But the Angels tack on one more run as Reggie Jackson unloads one 450-odd feet into center field. And on the way to the outfield. So Reggie looks like he may be, at least this week, Mr. October.
Well, he seems to get up for these games. It wasn't a very good pitch, but you still have to hit it, and he did.
He brings it home, and there's a blast to deep center. Back goes Gorman Thomas. It is gone.
Reggie now out talking to the umpire, and earlier I had a conversation with him. Here's part of it.
It's unusual that you have so many men who have had so many experiences and been so many places. Been all-stars, been champions, been stars, if you will. You guys get along pretty well despite all of this collection of different personalities and honored men.
I think that that's one of the reasons that we do get along. Probably the biggest reason is that every man on this ball club, the guys that start every day, have had outstanding seasons. You have some exceptions to the rule, like a Rod Carew, like a Donnie Baylor, like a Freddie Lynn, who've been just super for much of their career. However, with the great year that Carew had, 388 batting average, 100 runs batted in, 14 home runs, 16 triples, 128 runs scored, they did not win a championship. And I think that it's a realization, maybe it's maturity, that every player on this team knows it needs the other guy in order to have a winning team. And I think that is a major reason for us getting along together. I think that the front office breeds that kind of thing here with Gene Autry, Buzzy Bavasi, and of course Gene Mock, who is our boss, or the man that runs the show daily, that has come out of him in the same way. He's treated no one different. He's treated everyone fairly, and it's bred that throughout the ball club.
Here's the home run swing of number 44. And the pose. All right, Ted Simmons, the number 4 man, followed by Ben Ogilvie, the 5th man, and Gorman Thomas for the Brewers. The Brewers are in the hole as we go to the top of the 4th inning by a score of 3-0. And Kison's out in front, strike 1 against Simmons. 1-1.
We talked about this last night. Every batter that Kison can get out will buy him more time for his offensive team to score some more runs. So this is a very important inning.
They've got to start making a move. Kison will be able to go right on after him like Tommy did last night. I think that's what Jim was talking about.
Just misses outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. 6 games played here at Anaheim. These two teams split 3-3, and they also split 3-3 at County Stadium in Milwaukee. But if the Angels win 2 in a row here, oh boy, look out. Swing and a miss as Simmons strikes out.
Throwing some very good pitches.
Now it's Ben Ogilvie for Milwaukee. Big chop over the pitcher's mound. Rich on the move. Makes the play. 2 down.
In my opinion, Bobby Grich is moving as good as he ever has. Got a real good jump on that fellow.
He can get as much on it, though, as any second baseman I think I've ever seen. From falling down, standing on his ear, he can still put something on the throw.
He has a tremendous arm, and especially from far behind second base, and that was an acrobatic throw right there. Right
down the line. Good play by DeCinces. Got him. So Kison puts the Brewers down in order in the top of the fourth. We've played 3.5 innings at the Big A in Anaheim. As night begins to settle in, the Angels lead the Brewers 3-0. Keith Jackson, Earl Weaver, Jim Palmer in Anaheim, California. Earlier, I talked with this man, Doug DeCense.
Your old boss is sitting alongside of me up in the booth while you're working on the field. Is there anything you want to pass on to him?
Well, I thought it was a great honor, what I saw on TV, to have the fan reaction that they had for him in Baltimore, even though they lost last day. And, you know, and he's had a tremendous winning career. And, you know, I'd just like to say congratulations.
Isn't that nice?
That was very nice. And Vuckovich just come very close to Doug.
Turned him around. Ball one.
I wonder if that was a message.
It's called a bowed neck, I think. High with that fastball. 2 balls and no strikes. Mookie's behind again against the tough hitter.
Well, that's the way he pitches, but if he doesn't have the ability to throw that slider, and he's that type of guy that he throws his fastball when he's ahead in the count. Now 2-0, he's probably going to come in with a breaking ball.
Missed with it. Looked like a fastball.
It did.
It's a wonder that DeCense doesn't get hit wherever he does, because he does lean into the ball. He goes right into the pitch as he's coming out of the pitcher's hand.
Well, they green-light him on 3-0, and he misses 3-1.
There you saw a slider, a breaking ball, 3-0, which I think shows you that Pete Vuckovich knows that Gene Moxon will let his hitters swing. He did it last inning with Freddie Lynn, and here, anticipating the swing, makes a great pitch.
Outstanding pitch on 3-0, and I wasn't looking for it.
That's a good pitch, 0-2. I mean, it doesn't matter when you throw it.
Walked him. First one issued by Vuckovich.
And it seems that his control is off tonight. And again, we talked about the shoulder problems he's had, the 2 quarter zone shots. I know for a fact that when your shoulder bothers you, it's not that you don't throw that good or you throw that well. It's what happens is the pitches get in the middle of the plate and you can't make the quality pitches that you normally make.
One would think that if they need long relief in the game tonight, it could be Moose Haas or Bob McClure. Haas a right-hander, McClure a left-hander, and the first pitch to Gritch is good for a strike. Doc Medich is also available.
I think that second inning, in the way the California Angels hit the ball, did a little bit to Pete's confidence.
Sensei off first, does not figure to run. Gritch hits it toward the hole, gets past Molitor, gets on passing out, and DeCense holds at second. Well, you got a walk and a single back-to-back with nobody out at the bottom of the 4th inning. You talk about a C&I single.
That's exactly what it was. And right here, I think Gene will go for the sacrifice. They've got 3 runs on the board. If he can move them over and they pick up one or both of these, it's going to make it mighty tough on Milwaukee.
And as you see there, a tough customer at the plate in Foley. Tim Foley had a single back in the 2nd inning when California scored the first 2 runs. Vuckovich got a double play to get him out of trouble in the 3rd. Beauty of a punt by Foley. Vukie's got to go to first base. The runners move up. The sacrifice is perfect.
There was no play on. The pitcher will break off of the mound on this. It's his responsibility to get off of the mound and cover the area between the pitcher's mound and third base.
Overhead shot now to give you an idea of the movement of everybody. Using the telestrator.
There's different bunt plays where the third baseman will charge or the first baseman, and the first baseman might lay back and the pitcher run over to the first baseline. In this one, it was just a regular, normal defense against the bunt with men on first and second.
Sensei at 3rd, Gritch at 2nd, 1 out, and Bob Boone is up there.
Harvey Keene is showing some respect for Bob Boone right now.
There's the infield halfway back, doesn't he, Earl?
Yeah, Robin Yount is back. The Molitor will say is up close enough to get the runner at home plate.
There's a strike. 1-1.
I think from Robin's position, I think that he'll have to go to first base unless the ball is hit real hard.
That ball is hit to the right side. Charlie Moore flags it down. Tag at third to Sensei. Comes home and scores. 4-0.
Fastball away, 2-1 count. Boone goes right with it, gets the run in. Nice catch by Charlie Moore, and you'll see the strong throw he makes. The Sensei, who stayed at third and tagged up, just barely beats it.
A good play by the pitcher, who was backing up.
Rich holding at second. The Sensei scoring. RBI for Boone. 4-0 California. Top of the order now with 2 out. Brian Downing. The slider is in there for a strike. Well, Gene Mauch plays little ball with the guys on the bottom of the order, and that's one of the reasons that Brian Downing has been able to knock in so many runs, too. He's had people on base. When the bottom third of this order gets aboard, Gene Mauch bunts them along. So the big boys come around the top of the order. There's somebody out there to pick up. Pitches inside.
Once you get that lead and you can put another run on the board, it takes the opposition to the beach.
Downing left that one fly, fouls it away, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Struck him out on a high fastball. But California tacks on 1 more. At the end of 4 innings, the Angels lead the Brewers 4. I'm sitting here wondering, Earl Weaver, how long Harvey Keene's going to go with Pete Vuckovich.
They're 1 running them to death. It hasn't. Pete got out of the second inning with only 2, and then Reggie's tremendous home run, and he gets himself in trouble, but seems to be able to work his way out.
Roy Howell, Charlie Moore, and Jim Gantner.
But they've got to make a move. They're going to get back in the ballgame. They've got to get some people on base and drive them in.
Him up, ball coming back, and oh boy, that's a try by DeSensei as he tumbles into the dugout and just got away from him, just barely.
Well, that's where your teammates can help you out. As they see you coming over, you'll probably see some of his teammates as Doug goes onto the warning track, get ready to catch him. And here you can see him moving over, I hope. Really see because of the cameras, but
he almost caught it.
Doug was inches away from making an outstanding play.
Howell alive. Hits it on the ground to Gritch. Gravy bounce. 1 down. Another angle on the Sensei try for the foul ball that will drop just beyond his reach.
You can see the hands going up to catch him.
He played the ball perfectly. He didn't miss it by over an inch or 2.
That's scary, though, when you see a man coming into that dugout area.
Well, how about Butch Hobson a couple of years ago in Boston? He comes flying over the dugout and dives down the dugout steps into the tunnel. And I thought about catching him, so I realized it was my right arm. He said goodbye, Butch, as he went by.
And Nestor Shylock, the umpire, was right behind him. Butch made the play, and Nestor come running out on the field with his right hand in the air.
Reggie Jackson throwing another balloon off the field. The one that I remember, though, is Earl Batty of Minnesota when he ran into the dugout and hit himself right in the throat with it.
1965 World Series.
Ooh, boy.
Dodger Stadium.
Never will forget that.
That was my rookie year. Seems like only 20 years ago now.
Charlie Moore, who had a single, one of the 3 Milwaukee hits in the ball game. Kison has been most economical so far tonight. He's thrown very few pitches. He hasn't gone to 3-ball count on anybody.
Well, as we said, looks like he has tremendous command of his pitches. And that 4-run cushion doesn't hurt anybody. But to pitch against any good team, when you get to the 7th, 8th, and 9th hitters, and he's at the 8th hitter here with Charlie Moore, these are the guys you have to get out. You know that the Mollitors and the Younts and the Coopers, what they can do. So you can't lose your concentration.
Down in the corner. Foul ball.
Seems to be that type of a night for Milwaukee so far. They have not hit many balls hard off of Kison, and this one that they did hit hard, could have got him a little bit closer, hooked foul at the last minute.
Well, it wasn't a very good pitch, and now if he's pitching well, he'll make a good one. Try to induce him to hit his pitch instead of a good hitter's pitch.
1-2 on Charlie Moore.
Jim, I think it's like you said. I think that he's trying to save a few pitches down at the bottom of the order.
You have a tendency to do that sometimes, to relax, and if you're lucky, then it's all right. Theirs looks like a good pitch, but it's hit up the middle and
safe. Moore legs it out. Rich had a pretty good throw on it. It was a slow bouncer up the middle, but Charlie Moore hustled it out. Gets a base hit. That's 4 now off Kison.
That's exactly that throw that Bobby Grich can make that many second basemen can't, that you were talking about before, Keith.
it's a good pitch, and here you'll see Grich going to his right. A strong throw. Didn't look like he caught it cleanly. But Charlie Moore, as we said last night, converted catcher, ran just as Brian Downey does, runs very well for a catcher.
Now it's Jim Ganton at the second baseman. And Kison gets the inside corner for strike 1. 3 of the 4 hits by the Brewers infield singles. There's a little tap down to Carew, and he'll tag him out as Moore moves up to second, 2 down. This telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Gets by it.
Rolls
all the way to the wall, and Charlie Moore scores. Molitor is around third. He's coming home. There will be no play.
Now take a look at the Milwaukee bench. We'll see a little action.
Well, that was an unusual play. Freddie really took quite a chance. 4-run lead. If you catch the ball, it's great. If you don't, as it turned out, you put 2 runs on the board.
There's no doubt about it. I would want my center fielder to play that on 1 hop.
Once it got past Lynn, it rolled all the way out about 400 feet.
Reggie got there quickly, but Molitor's got some good speed, and here you see it.
They missed the first cutoff man, but I don't think that it would have made any difference anyway.
High fly ball to the right side. Grich runs it down and makes an over-the-shoulder catch for the 3rd out of the inning. But the Milwaukee Brewers get a bit of a break as Molitor delivers a 2-run inside the park home run, and the score now at the 4.5, 4-2 California. All right, Wallace Wade, the great football coach at Duke and Alabama, once said, "Nobody ever wins a game, somebody loses it."
Well, they're not going to lose with 2 runs, but it certainly did help them get back in the game. It helped the Milwaukee club get back in the ballgame. Even if he knocks it down, there's a good chance that it'd turn into a double, and you'd have that second run in scoring position.
Well, I just think, though, you can talk about Freddie Lynn, you talk about somebody that's sometimes even overly aggressive. There's been talk around here how he's been injured and whatever. They've all stemmed from running into the walls or trying to make a diving catches, and there was another example of that. It's just not very good timing.
Carew just seems hesitant to pull the trigger. He's not letting it go like he does during the regular season.
Well, when you pitch against Rodney, he fouls off the good pitches, and I think with his bad wrist, he's not able to do that.
As a looper to center for Thomas. 1 out. Reggie Jackson Jackson, who's had a home run tonight. They call him Mr. October. And earlier I talked to him about that line.
Can you be Mr. October one more time?
I hope so. I'm certainly hoping, and I prayed today and prayed the last few days. I've read so much about this October thing, Keith, that I'm starting to believe it myself.
There's a purpose pitch. He moved Reggie off of the plate.
Comes high with it. He's behind now. 2 balls and no strikes.
It wasn't a knockdown pitch because it was below the shoulders, but he wanted to let him know that he's not going to give him all of that plate.
Buzzes him inside to go 3 balls and no strikes. He's a performer. Walked him.
Reggie's personal stats would have been higher throughout his career if every game meant something, if every at-bat meant something. Reggie relaxes in the 9-1 ball game, and that's where he saves strength, and maybe that's why he can come up in the big ball games and do the things that he has done in the past. The one player that I had that could get himself up for every at-bat, too, really, was Frank Robinson and Brooks Robinson. Brooks enjoyed it so much, and Frank, it was a battle against that pitcher every at-bat.
Sharply hit. Over to second, 1, back to first. Gantner flips it over to Yount, and the second double play of the night for the Milwaukee Brewers. After 5, 4-2, there's a rendition of Anaheim Stadium by electronic artist Joni Carter, being painted in New York. Very pretty. Well, tomorrow, the National League Championship Series, Atlanta-St. Louis. They'll try to get it going at 8 Eastern Time, having been rained out today after 4.5 innings. So they'll start over. And then on Friday, as we travel with the American League group tomorrow, we'll begin in the afternoon at 3 Eastern Time. The Angels and the Brewers for game number 3. Right now, after 5 innings of play, California getting 2 runs in the second, singles in the third and the fourth. Milwaukee coming back with 2 in the top of the 5th, and that's where we are. Cecil Cooper is at the plate to be followed by Ted Simmons and Ben Ogilvie. And Coop hits it high in the air to right. It's playable for Reggie Jackson. 1 down.
I don't think he missed that pitch very much. He had a very good cut at that.
Just missed it.
But really what that inside the park home run did by Molitor, every time we get a runner at on base, it sends right now the tying run up to the home plate. And as a pitcher, instead of enjoying either a 4-1 lead that he had played the ball on the 1 hop, now he's in a situation every time a man gets on the game could be tied.
Ted Simmons. 0 for 2. On the ground to Grich. 2 down. There's the Prez. He's sitting to the right of the screen at Rod Dado, the baseball coach over USC, who's turned out some good ones, including Fred Lynn playing center field for California tonight.
And our second baseman in Baltimore, Richie Dower.
Ogilvie at the plate. Norman Thomas on deck. Side wheeling by Kison. It's blowing away.
That's unusual, but I talked to Bob Boone. Kison has been side-arming lefties. Now, normally you throw sidearms if you're right-handed against the right-handed hitters. It's kind of an intimidating factor, but his ball moves very well when he does throw sidearm, and he said it's been effective against some left-handed hitters. Obviously, there he threw it blowing away for a ball.
He's been 3 balls on the last 2 hitters, and now he's backing off the mound, taking a little extra time.
Why, 25, 30 years ago, you had a lot of sidearmers. Why don't we see that many anymore?
I really can't tell you, Keith, because I watched those sidearmers in years past, and they were always effective.
Carew the play at first, and the inning is over. So it's a relatively easy inning for Bruce Kison, and the Angels continue a 4-2 lead. Back with more after this word from our local station.
Hi, I'm Reggie Jackson. You know, I surround myself with the finest in classic cars. After all, I collect them. I also surround myself with something extra special in car audio. Panasonic car stereo with ambient sound. Unlike ordinary stereo, Panasonic ambience virtually surrounds me. Like I'm in a concert seat, not just a bucket seat. So listen to Reggie and listen to Panasonic ambience. That's Reggie sound.
The fading glow of a day on the Pacific shores. Looking across Orange County and then back into the Big A, where the California Angels are leading the Milwaukee Brewers by a score of 4-2 as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. And coming to the plate for California, it'll be Don Baylor, Doug DeCinces, and Bob Gritch. Pitch by Vuckovich is low and away to Baylor, who becomes a free agent when play is done, and a whole lot of folks are talking about where he might go. California, of course, wants to keep him here. Swing and a miss by Dunn, and the count is 1 ball and 1 strike. One of the things I'd like to, a little scenario, though, you realize that talking about Capstein a moment ago, that Ossie, Curtis, Baylor, Lynn, Gritch are all Capstein clients. He is an agent that has been very active in the game of baseball for the last few years, and he's one of the quiet men. He's also the man representing Steve Garvey over on the other side of town. For the Milwaukee Ball Club, it's Mike Caldwell and Ronnie Fingers who are his clients. And there is an obvious relationship between Capstein and Harry Dalton, who was the general manager here in California, who signed Don Baylor for the Angels, who signed Joe Rudy and Bobby Gritch. And that's filed back here. And it was also some involvement with Capstein in Fingers going to San Diego. Buzzy Bavasi signed him there, and then he went off to St. Louis for a cup of coffee and on to Milwaukee. So just putting all of that reasoning together, I got to think there's a chance Baylor could wind up in Milwaukee next year. There's a high fly ball lifted out to the right side for Charlie Moore, and you got 1 out. And wouldn't he be something if he were in that Milwaukee lineup?
Yes, he would. I just wonder if Jim Palmer would want to pitch against that ball.
I think I follow your footsteps and retire.
With 1 down now, Doug DeCinces steps in. Doug has doubled and walked and scored twice. Inside corner. He's settling down a little bit now, getting tougher.
Well, he's making some better pitches. The pitch that Don Baylor just popped up to right field was down and away. That ball was down and in. He's getting the ball down in the strike zone. And he throws a sinker and forkball and a slider. They're only really effective if he gets them down in the strike zone. He's been able to do that.
Goes outside to make it 3-1. There.
3-1 slider. As we said, when he gets behind, 3 balls, 1 strike, he comes in with a breaking ball a lot of the time, and there it was. But he's got to be careful. He walked Reggie last inning after he hit the home run over the center field fence, and Doug, who had 30 on the year, is the same kind of hitter.
2 excellent pitches right in a row.
DeCinces striking out, makes it 2 down with Bobby Gritch coming to the plate. Tonight, Nightline focuses on the perils of highly toxic PCBs and what should be done with them. Watch Nightline tonight after your late local news. We've got something on the field out in the right field corner. That's an active crowd out there tonight. They've had 3 or 4 balloons get loose, and now somebody lost their hat. Charlie Moore giving it back to him.
It took about 4 innings again tonight for this part to fill up.
Yep. Well, everybody going home, and there's a lot of folks driving automobiles around here.
I say a lot of people around here thought it was a shame that they enclosed this ballpark, but I again want to say that I like it a lot better, and it only held 40,000 before, and now we have a new American League Championship Series attendance record.
And it looks full again tonight, so.
Also, the ball seems to travel better.
I'm not so sure about that. I mean, it didn't seem like it had any trouble getting to the walls last night. But Don Baylor said, there's a 3-1 slider again. And he really felt it didn't make much difference. Only in the daytime does the ball really jump. I told him he lied to us because he just kind of checked his swing and it went off the top of the wall in right field last night. But the ball seems, when I'm on the mound, to carry very well here when I'm pitching.
3-2 pitch struck him out. So Vuckovich now continues to get tough and hang in. And so after 6, it's 4-2 Angels. Looking down into the big A now. Bruce Kison on the mound here in the top of the 7th inning. Will be pitching to Corbin Thomas, Roy Howell, and Charlie Moore. Kison has given California a good, strong 6 innings as Luis Sanchez and Andy Hassler. Hassler, the left-hander, warming up in the California bullpen. Thomas has been quiet tonight. He's 0 for 2. Actually, Kison could be sitting on a 4-0 lead, 4-1 lead, if Freddie Lynn plays that ball on the bounce from center field.
That would make it a lot more comfortable for everybody concerned. With the score 4-2 now, we're liable to see some managing.
Now is up in the Milwaukee bullpen, big right-hander. Primarily a starter, but does have a save this past season. 1-1 pitch to Thomas. Bruce has still got something.
That he does. There was a sidearm release, and it was a good sinker. He's pitched Gorman away the first time, and he struck him out, and then he came in on him and got him to hit a jam shot to Doug DeCinces at third base. I think the thing we have to watch with Bruce Kison is in his 12-year Major League career, he's only had 32 complete games. So we're going to watch him. I'm sure Gene Mock's going to have his eye on him.
1-2 pitch to Thomas. Sidearms him and strikes him out. Coming up Saturday, NCAA football here on ABC. The undefeated Washington Huskies, ranked #1, take on old foe California. Other regional games: Iowa, Indiana, Southern Mississippi, Mississippi State, Holy Cross, and Colgate. That's at 3:30 Eastern Time over most of these ABC stations. The count now to Roy Howell, designated hitter for Milwaukee. Sharply struck, Guru one-hands it and does it himself. 2 down.
There's a sweetheart.
Now Charlie Moore with a pair of singles and a run scored. Charlie was on base. Hit the line drive that dropped and skipped past Fred Lynn, rolling to the fence. Sidearms him and gets him with a strike. Foul ball. That moved Harry Warner around a little bit down to third base coaching box. It was a bullet. The old Cy Young chase now. Mr. Palmer is in it. Certainly Mr. Vuckovich out on the mound is a prime contender for it. This was the year in the American League in which nobody won points. Unusual.
Some of us didn't pitch all year. I was out of the rotation in May.
You were in the bullpen for a while.
Yeah, but
high well down the right side. And it's the right fielder, Charlie Moore.
That was rehabilitation time.
Yeah, mental rehabilitation.
You enjoyed the time off.
No, but I did realize what a valuable job and what a tough job a bullpen pitcher has.
Whatever it was, something happened to you or happened for you in that experience because you did so well when you came back.
I think I won 13 out of 15 after that, so valuable lesson.
When you said, is that the reason? You said mental rehabilitation?
I think it was health more than anything else. He wasn't throwing like he really can throw early, and he had a little time off because we used him, but he was ready to go when he came back.
Molitor with it. Ball throws across in time to get Boone for the second out.
Let me know when you want the real story.
Now is as good a time as any.
No, I'll decline on that. I would think it was an organizational move at the time, and we had Sammy Stewart, a young pitcher who has great stuff, who they wanted to start, and it didn't work out that well. I think they missed Sammy in the bullpen, and as it turned around, it worked very well because I came back and started well, and he pitched well in the bullpen.
Ryan Downing standing at the plate with 2 out.
And you were strong at the end of the year.
Not strong enough, though. Not last Sunday.
Just misses with it. To go 2 balls and no strikes. Vuckovich has got to keep the Angels under control if he's to have any hope of winning this ball game. He walks Downey. That's the 3rd walk. Carew hits it straight up for the second baseman, Jim Gantner. And the inning is over. Played 7 in Anaheim, and it's 4-2 California. So Bruce Kison will go out now for the top of the 8th inning, trying to keep the bats of Milwaukee quiet. He will pitch to Jim Gantner, Paul Molitor, and Robin Yount.
Kison's faced 26 batters, and the first pitch is going to strike to 19 of them, and there's another one.
Fred Lynn. One down.
He's doing exactly what you said a few innings back, Jim. He's trying to keep a runner off a base so that tying run cannot get to home plate. One way you can do that is keep throwing strikes.
The scheduled pitchers for the Friday afternoon game in Milwaukee, Don Sutton for the Brewers and Jeff Zahn for the Angels. Sutton, a right-hander who won the big game for them in Baltimore on Sunday. Sidearm pitch to Molitor. Strike 1.
I know what he's feeling. Well, he wants to get Harvey Keene. He wants to get a man on.
That's a foul ball upstairs. First one they've had upstairs all night. Well, this Milwaukee ball club certainly been up against it before. Talking earlier with Robin Yount about the attitude of the team. Very loose team, he said.
Well, I'll tell you, the guys on this team, it's almost like we're all real good friends, which we are. We do everything together on and off the field. We don't have to be with certain people. You can be with anybody on the club and have just as good a time. It's a bunch of guys that just have a good time no matter what we're doing.
Yount bounces it out to Foley, and Foley throws him out. And so Kison now is rolling along. He's retired 10 in order. We'll go to the home half of the 8th inning with Reggie Jackson, Fred Lynn, and Don Baylor for the California Angels, leading 4-2. The Milwaukee Brewers have just one more turn, and they will be sending to the plate in the top of the 9th inning Cecil Cooper, Ted Simmons, Ben Ogilvy, with Foreman Thomas the 4th man. Right now, Pete Vuckovich has got to control the Angels. Jackson, Lynn, Baylor.
That's a tough job. He's hung in there about as tough as you can hang in. That good off-speed pitch. You know, Vuckovich has pitched from behind in the good innings he's had, just like you said before.
Well, that's his style. When he first came up with Toronto, went right after the hitters, but the last few years, he feels comfortable pitching behind in the count.
3 balls and 2 strikes. Just missed with that.
I wonder if Reggie thought he was out on that pitch. No, he's asked
to move away, didn't he?
Yeah, but he just asked the count, so I guess he thought it might have been ball 4.
3-2 pitch. Pops him up. Got him on the handle. Yount makes the catch.
He had that pitch just inside enough that Reggie didn't get the arms out.
Now it's Fred Lynn. California 4, Milwaukee 2. Vuckovich has strung up 3 successive zeros since giving up a run in the 4th inning.
We've watched some excellent pitching from the 4th inning.
That's flared down the line. Molitor and Yount both going. They bang together. Somebody's got the ball. It's Molitor. Paul makes the catch. So Molitor runs it down, running into foul ground well down the left field line.
There's 2 outstanding athletes. Yount's coming into the picture. You couldn't see who got the ball the first time, but you can certainly see it there on the replay. An outstanding play. And it took 2 good athletes not to really bang into each other right there.
Don Baylor stands at the plate. Big Don from Austin, Texas. Looks and it's outside. He brought his dad, George, up from Texas to watch. And his old high school coach, Frank Seal. Vuckovich low and away. 2 balls and no strikes. Little piece of wisdom that was revealed to us. The relationship between Baylor and his high school coach, Frank Seal. Outside, ball 3. And a piece of advice that Don Baylor still carries around with him. The biggest enemy is yourself, not your ability. Since Don quit fighting himself, he's become a terror.
Well, Don's a real gentleman, but he does fight himself. When he came up out of the minor leagues and joined us in Baltimore, Don told me that he was a 300 hitter, but he wasn't going to hit in the major leagues with power. And I tried to convince Baylor to look for first pitch 2-0-3-1 on the inside half the plate and try to drive it out. And Don was a little confused at first, but finally he started doing it, and he 1 year hit 35 home runs.
Doug DeCinces is at the plate now with 2 out and Baylor on first base. And Vuckovich trying to hold the Angels here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
There's a chance that Baylor might try to steal a base here and get a run on a single.
National League Championship Series begins. They were rained out today after 4 1/2. And they will begin it tomorrow night, 8 Eastern time in St. Louis, weather permitting. There's a good pitch for a strike. And the count is 1-1 on DeCinces. You've got Al Michaels, Howard Cosell, and the Dodger manager Tom Lasorda working that series.
For those people who caught the first 4 innings in that ball game, there was some mighty good pitching.
Necro and Andujar. Vuckovich struggling. To get the Angels out in the bottom of the 8th. Middle of the order coming up for Milwaukee in the top of the 9th. DeCinces hits it on the ground to Yount. Over to second. And they get Baylor coming down for the 3rd out. So the Brewers have one more chance at a 4-2 ball game as we move along towards the top of the 9th inning. Juan Benitez goes into left field. A defensive change by Gene Mauch. Strong arm and swift legs. Bobby Clark, youngster over in right field, a very good defensive outfielder, replacing Reggie Jackson. So Jackson and Downing are now out of the lineup as Gene Mauch, with Bruce Kison going to the mound here in the top of the 9th inning, making the defensive changes, speed and throwing ability, and trying to slam the door on Milwaukee and win the first 2 of this American League Championship Series.
If I were in the field, when I was was in the dugout, this was when I was the most nervous, when we were trying to hold on to a slim lead. When you're losing, you've got that rah-rah spirit, let's come back. But when it's the top of the ninth and you're trying to hold on to that 2-run lead, you really don't want to see anybody get on base and have that tying run come to the plate.
Cecil Cooper will lead it off, followed by Ted Simmons, Ben Ogilvie, and the fourth man, if somebody does get aboard, would be Gorman Thomas. Bruce Kison ready and delivers, and he's blowing away to Cooper for ball 1. You can see that Coop has been quiet so far in these 2 games, only a double. Pulls it on the ground to Bobby Grich. 1 out.
He hit that ball hard enough for a base hit. It was right at Bobby Grich, and that's a good feeling to see it going to somebody.
Very big man in Milwaukee's future right there. Raleigh Fingers has had a muscle tear through the month of September in his forearm of his pitching arm, and he's getting in some work in the bullpen. Has trouble throwing the slider, can throw the forkball and the fastball. The batter now is Simmons, batting left-handed. He is a switch hitter, and it's ball 1. Bruce Kison now has retired 11 in a row, finishing very strong, just 2 outs away from the victory. Inside corner.
Along with getting some work, Raleigh Fingers might be getting himself ready to pitch the bottom of the ninth, should Milwaukee tie it up or go ahead.
Afternoon in Milwaukee. The pitch is low. 2 balls and 1 strike. The pitch to Simmons. He pops him up. There will be a play on it by DeCinces. Fair territory. Down the line. 2 away. The wives of some of the Milwaukee players. And the joy of this Angel crowd certainly not reflected in their faces. Ben Ogilvie. Kison needs 1 out.
It was an outstanding effort, and tonight you could have used all the left-handed hitting in the Milwaukee lineup that you could get in there.
To Bobby Grich. The California Angels have defeated the Milwaukee Brewers 4-2 and won the first 2 of the 1982 American League Championship Series. And the crowd comes racing out onto the field. The Lions score in the ball game: 4-6-0 for California, 2-5-0 for Milwaukee.
Nothing. Is this the year? Well, you know, Jimmy, you know, a lot of people talk about, you know, the Angel Ball Club didn't have pitching, and we didn't have relief pitching. We're a little bit old. We don't have a lot of speed. A lot of that's true. It's just one of these years. I remember in 1979 when I read in the newspaper one time that Dempsey hit a home run off the foul pole to win a ball game in Toronto. And I said to myself at that time, it's just the year of the Orioles. And this year, I honestly feel in my heart, whether we're the best team or not, I think it's the year of the Angels. I really do.
Well, you've had a great career, but why in October? I mean,
I don't know, Jimmy. I just think that I've been blessed by God, and I think each time I say his name, that it comes back and just gives me a little bit extra. I really do believe that. I think that I concentrate a lot more. I have a little bit of trouble concentrating during the season time daily. But I think when the game's on the line, I don't know if they can hear us.
I know. Well, we're going back to Keith. Congratulations. Thanks, Keith.
Well, it's a little untidy down there, isn't it? There's absolutely no crowd control. They're just milling around, and Bruce Kison went straight to the clubhouse to, I presume, ice his arm down, and secondly, perhaps to get away from that crowd. But he won the ball game and pitched a fine game, and we'll be back. You can see part of the people that have run out onto the stadium in celebration here as the California Angels have defeated the Milwaukee Brewers by a score of 4-2. And it's kind of interesting in the two ball games and after a season in which there was so much suspicion about whether or not the California Angels had the quality pitching staff to do the job. But Tommy John, 3 runs and 7 hits against Milwaukee last night. Here's Bruce Kison, 2 runs and 5 hits. Both of them complete games tonight.
Outstanding pitching. When you hold the Milwaukee Brewers to 5 runs and 12 hits in 2 ball games, you've done a heck of a job. Evidently, they've got a good book on the Milwaukee ball players, and they've been putting the pitchers exactly where they wanted to do it. Now, one thing we have to remember, I think, is that the Milwaukee club has now lost 6 out of their last 7 games. During the pennant run, they lost their last ball game in Boston, came into Baltimore and lost 3 out of 4, and now have lost 2 straight here in California. Now, they're in a downer. There's no doubt about it, and that happens to clubs during the course of the season. Milwaukee was the club that won more games than anybody in baseball and didn't have that big losing streak through the season that most of us had. The California club is outstanding with the 4 former most valuable American League most valuable players on it, and they're a real good ball club. And going into Milwaukee now, they've got the smell of victory, and they're going to be tough.
Well, the Brewers backed up to the wall on Sunday and won it. They're backed up to an even bigger wall going into Friday's game. Once again, the final score, California 4, Milwaukee 2. The Angels take a 2-0 lead in the series. Join us tomorrow night for Game 1 of the National League Championship Series between the Cardinals and the Braves from Busch Stadium in St. Louis at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, and 5 Pacific time. The executive producer of ABC Sports is Roone Arledge. Coverage of the American League Championship Series being produced by Dennis Lewin. Directed by Ken Bouts. Our technical director, Mike Blazo. Associate director, Paul Hutchison. And join us Friday afternoon at 3 Eastern time for Game 3 of the American League Championship Series between the Milwaukee Brewers and California Angels from County Stadium in Milwaukee. Game 2 of the American League Championship Series has been brought to you by Chevrolet, who invite you to take charge of the new Chevrolet car or truck at your Chevrolet dealers now. And by Lowenbrau. When you want the taste of a truly great beer, there's really only one. Tonight, let it be Lowenbrau. Stay tuned for ABC News Nightline, featuring a report on the perils of the highly toxic PCBs. Nightline tonight following your late local news. Travel arrangements made through and promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United flies more people to Hawaii than any other airline. That's what friendly skies are all about. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as the leader in sports television. They are celebrating in Anaheim, California, as their Angels have taken a 2-0 lead in the 1982 Championship Series of the American League, and they need to win only 1 game at County Stadium in Milwaukee.